Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. I am once again your humble guide, Andy Curtis. Thanks for spending some time with us here today. And now that the 4th of July holiday is in our rearview mirror, we are up to our waist in summer here in Montana, meaning a lot more of you will be hitting the trails, hitting up those camping sites, and maybe, if I had to guess, doing a little bit of fishing over the next couple of months. But how has fishing changed here in the Treasure State? After those historic floods really hit southeastern Montana hard last year, did they change the way we fish? We'll talk to the experts and have your answers coming up today. Now, if your idea of outdoor recreation is a little more white-knuckle inducing, we've also got you covered because we'll take to the air and our state's whitewater for a pair of stories. But first, before we get to any of those, it is summer here in Montana, meaning a trip to Yellowstone National Park is in order. And from the sounds of things, a lot more people will be staying inside the park this year, with the Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel finally opening up. But their restaurant is not. MTN's John Shear tells us why.
The short answer is it's all about lead time.
Food and beverage takes more time. You've got to train cooks, you've got to train servers. So once we got the official opening date just 5-6 days ago, then we began the process of hiring for the dining room in the hotel itself. So we're hoping to have this open within 2 to 3 weeks.
Just take a look inside the dining room right now. Crews only finished repainting it a day ago. And right now, it's set up for training new staff.
Once the staff starts coming in, we have to teach them what the menu is, how to do serving standards, how to prepare food, how to interact with guests at the table.
Beyond setup and training time, just getting staff to the park is a challenge.
If you're asking somebody to pick up and leave their life wherever they may be living at, relocate to a remote wilderness area for a period of 30 to 120 days if they're just going to be a seasonal employee, that's a big ask.
The hotel here and nearby cottages just across the street from the restaurant will be opening its doors on Saturday, and managers tell me it'll be full.
So people, as it was getting closer, if they didn't want to keep their reservation, we let them cancel, no charge, rebook somewhere else. A lot of folks decided, no, we're going to hold our reservation because we think you're going to be able to make it, and we did.
Just 5 miles downhill in Gardner, that's huge.
It's incredibly important. Gardner relies a lot on even just day trippers who stay in the Mammoth Hotel or are traveling to stay in the Mammoth Hotel, people stopping here, eating in our restaurants, doing our activities.
Plus, all those new visitors at Mammoth won't be left without food options. In addition to Gardner restaurants, the grill and snack bar are already open right next to the restaurant. That's fueling hope for a strong summer season.
I think we can kind of expect the same sort of situation with that number-wise. With international travel opening back up, I think we're going to experience more international travelers here.
Park Superintendent Cam Shawley tells me the nearby Mammoth Campground will also open, at least partially, very soon. In Yellowstone National Park, I'm John Shearer, MTN News.
Now, if you're looking for a trail to take this summer with a great view, but you don't want to break too much of a sweat, we've got one just for you. MTN's Andrea Lutz takes us just off the Beartooth Highway.
Vista Point is a popular stopping point along the Beartooth Pass. It only takes about 18 miles to get right here from Red Lodge, and a quick little jaunt on that trail will take you to a beautiful platform with some spectacular views of the Rock Creek Valley. So let's get on the trail.
Beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous.
And easy to get to. Nestled on the Beartooth Highway are some of the most spectacular views at Vista Point.
This view here is unbelievable.
Yeah, the view.
And the best part, you won't even have to break a sweat.
Extremely accessible.
Vista Point is a fan favorite. A well-maintained walkway, sturdy rails along the way, and much to enjoy as you make your way to the very end. Now, none of this even existed until about a year or so ago, beyond a lookout, which was just right beside the highway. Well, it only took us a short jaunt on this paved pathway, and then we got to the very end, and take a look at this vantage point. It's beautiful, these 360-degree views, taking in the snow on top of the Beartooth Mountains. Another thing that a lot of people are liking up here today is interaction with the wildlife.
We don't really have this at home where I'm from, so just to get to see the animals and the birds and the mountains, yeah, we're just enjoying nature and enjoying this beautiful place to visit.
Mandy Cook is visiting from Memphis, Tennessee, says they booked a trip to Yellowstone last year, but historic floods prevented that.
So we came this year. We just postponed and came out here.
Vista Point providing the perfect place to rest along the long journey to the top of the Beartooth Highway. The overlook sitting at over 9,000 feet above sea level.
But this trail is amazing. I would highly recommend it. It's a beautiful walking up and then looking out over everything.
And a highlight for many as they make their way to Yellowstone Park.
I heard this was the most beautiful highway in the United States.
Yeah.
On the Beartooth Highway, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
A mama grizzly bear and her 3 cubs were spotted running through this field here in Ulm. I talked with the grizzly bear management specialist, Chad White, and he said despite their presence here recently, it is unlikely that they will return.
Do you see that? They just ran through our yard.
White said while searching for the grizzlies' tracks, they were not able to find any human food source that would be available to the bears, which should keep them from returning. The public is not in any danger at this time.
Oh, that's a little scary in a way, but
Montana has the largest remaining grizzly bear population in the United States, with around 2,000 bears. Grizzlies are starting to leave their established range, providing an increased chance to encounter them anywhere in Montana. Locals in Ulm said this was the first time any of them have heard of bears coming through this area. The public is encouraged to keep a close eye on the area and alert Fish and Wildlife if any grizzly activity is spotted. To be bear aware, you should always remain alert for potential encounters, carry bear spray, and keep all food in closed containers, vehicles, or your home.
4 bears. Oh my goodness.
In Ulm, I'm McKenna Holman, MTN News.
And speaking of grizzly bears, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks wants public comment on draft language for its grizzly bear management plan. FWP is looking to amend administrative rules in accordance with the law created by Senate Bill 295, which clarifies how Montana will manage bears if they are delisted, and requires FWP to adopt rules prior to delisting. The proposed rules will detail how the agency will manage the bear population. The statute allows for landowners to kill grizzly bears, attacking their livestock, but it also requires the Fish and Wildlife Commission to set an annual quota for the number of bears allowed to be killed in these circumstances. Comments can be submitted online or in person at the Fish and Wildlife Commission meeting August 17th. And with that, we come to this week's MTN Outdoors trivia question. And yep, it has to do once again with grizzly bears. But this time it's about their place on the endangered species list. So what year were silvertips added to that list? Is it A, 1987, B, 1975, or C, 1957? All right, everybody, think about this one and don't look it up online, okay? That cheapens the experience. You're better than that. Take this time during the commercial break to really think about it, and we will have your full-priced answer when we come back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. I'm your guide, Andy Curtis. Thanks for sticking around with us here today. And just before the break, I asked you today's MTN Outdoors trivia question. And just in case you missed it, because I am such a nice guy, here it is one more time. What year was the grizzly bear added to the endangered species list? Was it A, 1987, B, 1975, or C, 1957? Drum roll, please, if you answered B, 1975, you are absolutely correct. That year, bears were listed as a threatened species, and in 1993, a recovery plan was implemented with 3 specific recovery goals that needed to be met for 6 consecutive years. Well, the bear's population boomed, and since then, the debate around delisting grizzlies has raged on. In 2017, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services removed the Yellowstone population of grizz from the threatened species list. But in 2018, a U.S. district judge restored those protections. And protected or not, running into a grizzly bear is just one of the risks we run whenever you head out into the wilderness here in Montana. And depending on your outdoor pursuit, the risk can be pretty steep, I guess is the best way to put it. A truth this paraglider knows all too well. MTN's Kelsey Marison has his story.
After a nearly fatal accident, one should expect a long road to recovery. But that's not the case for Aaron Day, who's getting ready to be released from this Billings Rehabilitation Hospital just under 2 weeks after a near-death experience.
Flying in general, it's unreal.
Flying through the sky is a sensation that's hard to even describe.
It's probably one of the things in my life that makes me the most happy.
But on June 16th, 30-year-old Aaron Day of Bozeman was in a horrific paragliding accident that almost cost him his ability to walk.
We were just kind of having a good time, and I just got a little bit careless. You know, I was just not thinking properly.
A mistake he quickly realized after colliding with the ground. Day was rushed to a Bozeman hospital and was then airlifted to St. Vincent and Billings, where he was assigned a care team of surgeons, nurses, and doctors.
These are 2 different views, one from the side showing a significant compression and a lot of fragments pushing back towards his spinal cord. And you can see from the front just how badly it's injured.
The prognosis was grim.
I was scared when I talked to the surgeon before surgery, and he wasn't for sure that I was going to be able to walk when I came out of the surgery.
When you look at something like this, would you expect this patient to be released in a couple weeks after an accident like this?
Oh no, that would be unusual. We were glad that he had sensation. This could result in paralysis in some people.
Luckily, that didn't happen. After about a week at St. V's, Day was transferred to the Rehabilitation Hospital of Montana to continue his recovery.
Fast? Sure. Right. Aaron was a very fun person to work with, because you walk in and you say like, hey, what brings you to us? What happened? And he goes, I was in a paragliding accident.
That attitude has helped. Amazingly, after less than just 2 weeks at the hospital, Day is already scheduled to be released this Sunday, thanks to his determination.
Aaron is not your typical spinal cord injury. A lot of spinal cord injuries come to us and you're expecting more of like a 3, 4, 6 month prognosis to even get to walking. To see him walking down the hall, doing stairs, being able to balance on one foot and catch a ball is just significant.
He's already looking ahead to his future, determined to fly again.
I was given another chance where I can do it. It almost feels wrong to me to not.
In Billings, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
Ahoy! Poop deck. Aft. These are some phrases you're going to be hearing a lot more of on Canyon Ferry this summer as the sport of yachting gets more wind in its sails. And they're looking for new members. That's how I got this hat. MTN's Eric Jocham and Hayes Barchiff hit the deck and have our story.
Just east of Helena, the Canyon Ferry Yacht Club welcomes sailors young and old, novice and expert, and gives them a chance to test themselves against each other as well as the elements.
He's in our bad air. He should really tack away.
Pat Sorello is the Commodore of the Canyon Ferry Yacht Club. He invited us aboard his J24 sailboat, the Saba Wind, to see firsthand the opportunities available for people interested in crewing a sailboat.
So the motto out here is it's like 90% boredom, 10% terror.
On board is Pat's wife, Paula, as well as Nick Sorensen and Kelsey Wagner, a couple learning how to sail after buying a similar boat.
I had sailed a handful of times with family, once or twice a year as a kid, you know, one day here, one day there, but no formal experience on a boat.
This crew has to work as a team. No one has just one job. Each individual gets the opportunity to work a different part of the craft, giving each person a chance to experience a different role on the team.
Today I felt, more comfortable, needed less and less instructions.
They will change positions every half an hour. They are racing against other yacht club members in friendly competition, but must also be prepared to address a myriad of unpredictable scenarios that could challenge them mentally or physically.
Well, there was a faux pas.
When a halyard, the nautical term for a rope used for raising and lowering a sail, became stuck at the top of the mast, one crew member had to put on a harness to retrieve it.
It was intense, for sure. Luckily, they took most of my weight with the hoist.
Watching Kelsey expertly scramble up the mast, with the rest of the crew working to keep the boat stable and assisting her with ropes and pulleys, it was hard to imagine this was her first time on the Saba Wind.
This happens a lot. A lot. This is something that happens, and as a crew and anybody that's a proficient sailor this will happen to them. Oh, now, out. All the way up, 9 feet aside. So if it's hard, push it forward. Just push it the other direction. There you go. There you go. Now lock it in.
But you got to keep
The crew must communicate if they are to manage the shifting wind and weather, other crafts on the water, and even the different sails and equipment in their boat.
Just raise that halyard, it'll go up.
It is really exciting, just a different sport, different physics, a lot of vocabulary.
Genoa, spinnakers, sheets and halyards. At times it can sound like they are speaking a different language.
You're luffing the sail. You're luffing. Okay, and I'll teach you that.
The more time we spent on the water, the more relaxed the crew became. When they needed to shift their sails, they moved quickly. And in unison, making adjustments in a matter of a few seconds. They kept the boat moving between 4 and 5 knots per hour. Sorello has been sailing for around 3 decades. He says he was drawn to sailing by its ability to take you anywhere in the world almost completely under your power.
My goal initially was, when I learned how to sail, I said, I want to be able to go to the Virgin Islands and be able to charter my own boat without a cook and a skipper. And so I have gotten to that point.
What keeps him sailing?
Sailing is like something you can do all over the world. I've met more friends. I run into them everywhere I go.
From Canyon Ferry with photographer Eric Jocham, I'm Hayes Bartroff, MTN News.
All right, stick around everybody, because we are staying on the water for this episode of MTN Outdoors. And the historic flooding last year changed the landscape all across southern Montana. But did any of those changes improve our fishing? We'll talk to the experts when we come back.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for sticking around for this week's episode of MTN Outdoors. Those historic floods that really devastated the southeastern part of the state last year made some major changes to the landscape. But did the floods change the way we fish this year? MTN's Kelsey Marison talked to the experts and got us some answers.
Last year's historic floods left behind quite a bit of debris, specifically woody debris. But as it turns out, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a benefit for our fish population.
You're gonna see a different river when you come fishing.
An old river has a new look. Following last year's floods, the Yellowstone has new channels, holes, and eddies.
People are gonna have to find new places to fish. Some of the holes or pools that people are fishing or used to fishing look a little different now.
But it's all good news for the fish, who are taking up residence in all that debris left behind.
Woody debris provides habitat for fish. It also provides habitat for aquatic organisms that fish eat, but it also provides stream stability. But that's also what stabilizes banks. The fish are still there, they're just in different places. It's kind of exciting. Folks that have been here for 30 years now have a different river to explore.
That's something longtime angler Richard Remersa is looking forward to.
Are you primarily a fly fisherman?
Exclusively.
Remersa owns East Rosebud Fly Shop. He says while he fishes many rivers, he's excited for new adventures on the Yellowstone.
It is fun
to go back to where you fished before and have it structurally changed. It is fun.
One of Remersa's loyal customers, Jason Priest, agrees. He travels all the way from Red Lodge to stock up on supplies at the Billings shop.
More habitat, more fish, but also more challenges, because sometimes you can't see the debris under the water.
And more habitat also means better protection for homeowners living on the banks, something fisheries management biologist Brian Giordano says is a common misconception.
The wood is not necessarily trash. It is important to stream function. It's important to slowing down the river. It's important to protect the banks and provide the fish habitat and aquatic habitat.
Providing protection and new opportunities.
We're excited that it's a different river and being able to go out and fish different places. So get out and do it.
In Billings, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
And rounding out the animal news this week, the Blackfeet Nation took a historic step forward for tribal sovereignty here recently when a herd of bison was released into the wild outside of Babb, marking the first time in 150 years that bison have roamed that landscape. The 24 animals released are direct descendants of a herd purchased by the Canadian government back in 1873. To the Blackfeet Nation's knowledge, this marks the first time in American history that a sovereign indigenous nation has returned free-roaming bison to their native habitat. The Blackfeet Nation will continue to release more bison into that area here in the coming months. Well, that should just about do it for us here this week at MTN Outdoors. Thank you for making me a part of your week, everybody. And remember, as you get outside, hiking, camping, fishing, anything you're doing that's not under a roof and that is legal, I want to see a photo of it. Send it to me at andy.curtis@ktvh.com, and you could see yourself at the end of a future episode. And with that, it's time for this week's MTN Outdoors Brag Board. And our photos this week have a distinct stormy theme. And the first one is from Cassie of those looming dark clouds over Helena last weekend at the farmer's market. Thanks for sending that pic in. And here's another angle of that storm from John, also hovering above the capital city. Thanks everybody, and keep those pictures coming. Well, until next week, thank you everybody, and remember, send those photos my way to andy.curtis@ktvh.com. Stay safe, and I'll see you out there.